And you tased Mr. Arnold in order to apprehend him, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you knee Mr. Arnold in the back?
What?
I don't recall that.
Did you spit on him?
No.
Would that have been appropriate to do?
Objection, not relevant.
Wait, what?
26.
It's crazy. Let me put those in an actual order that makes sense. Give me a second. I know that because I got which one, but you intend to tender them, and so and there is an objection, and so I have to rule on whether I'm going to admit them.
If the court wants me to remove court, I can do that. I do not have a problem doing that.
It is not what the court wants or doesn't want, although the court does want attorneys who know how to try a case.
This is already going terrible. Day 145 of the Young Thug YSL RICO trial was interesting. Detectives testify on the arrest of Yak, Gotti, and Duke. Mr. Weinstein gets out in front of the jury that Yak was spit on and kneed by the arresting officer. We also hear a lot about the shooting that Shannon was a victim in. Yeah, Max Schardt does really well in Cross separating this incident from a YSL incident. You'll see how he does it. Hit subscribe, join Shannon membership. Let's go, boys.
I'm a little confused about the social media post with the discovery on it because, and there's no evidence one way or another about whether my client has ever seen it.
Remember, the state says that Shannon snitching on his rival gang members and identifying them got leaked to social media, and that's when he recanted his statement.
I get not having the comments.
That it's posted by somebody whose handle is YFN Nutlife, possibly? I don't know. Mr. Atkins, I think there might be a relevance objection.
So, Your Honor, it's multiple relevance points. For one, that is significant in terms of, and some of the other, there's other posts, some of which are handles that the state believes were involved in this incident. But I'm including just one. And number two, what has repeatedly came out in the trial, and the state has asked questions about snitching, how that gets out. And this is just a clear example of someone literally screenshotting a discovery packet and putting it to the public. Obviously, the commentary is removed. Primarily, the first one in terms of the handle of, again, it's part of that line of, that's the state's intent. We're back and forth.
We've narrowed down the ones that they plan on publishing, so I have no objections to the ones that the state has shown me that they plan on publishing. The other ones that they do not plan on publishing include many photos that are cumulative, they're redundant to others. So any of the ones that they do not plan on publishing that we haven't gone over, I object to the admission of those.
All right, well, you're going to have to be a little more specific.
Okay, then
if they still want to have admitted the ones they're not going to publish.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, then I need to know
then,
what those are.
Then I would object to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Objects to every single one. Bro, my cheek hurts so bad. Don't remember yesterday I bit my cheek and it still hurts.
Your Honor, the reason why they're like that is because they are organized by how they will be published, but I can go through.
What are they going to be? 2, 3, 5, 31, what else?
Sure, there are 2, 3, 5, 31, 9, 10, 21, 29, 12, 27, 26.
It's crazy.
She said, oh my God, this is crazy.
19, and 23.
Okay, let me put those in an actual order that makes sense. Give me a second to rule on.
The state doesn't intend to publish one. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, stop. My understanding, I just wrote down I know that. Because I got which one, but you intend to tender them, and so and there is an objection, and so I have to rule on whether I'm going to admit them. Okay, so I'm only going to be asking you about the ones that you intend to tender but not publish, because there's not an objection to the ones that you intend to publish. So tell me why the ones that I'm going to ask you about are both relevant and not cumulative, why you need them.
Just from what Yak Gotti said.
The same picture.
If the court wants me to remove court, I can do that. I do not have a problem doing that.
It is not what the court wants or doesn't want, although the court does want attorneys who know how to try a case.
This is already going terrible. We're minutes into court. Every day it goes terrible for them. The state is just a complete failure.
But my rulings are based on the rules of evidence, okay?
60% of you aren't subscribed. Come on, hit the subscribe bell.
So, is that the same photo?
It is not the same photo.
Is it almost the same photo?
In my estimation, no, Your Honor, because it's a closer view and it gives more perspective as to what is in that photo.
Which one do you want?
The state would be fine with having photograph number 1.
Okay.
This first witness is an agent testifying about when Duke and Yak Gotti were arrested with a stolen gun in enemy territory, looking for ops to shoot.
We would have illuminated the emergency equipment on our vehicle to initiate a traffic stop on the vehicle.
Did you get out of the vehicle at the time of that traffic stop when you initially stopped it?
No, we didn't get out of the vehicle initially. Typically what we did is when we did initiate a traffic stop, me and my partner, because it is dark at night, we would take the spotlight and illuminate the interior of the vehicle from the back to be able to see the individuals inside and kind of assess what they're doing. On that given night, we observed the 2 individuals inside the vehicle begin to shift around a lot and turn around and continually look at us. We kind of hesitate to get out because, one, it could mean either someone...
Speculation.
Overruled.
One, typically, it could signal that maybe they're looking to ambush the officers walking up.
Sustained.
So they shifted around. We're looking back. We decided not to get out because usually people fled at that point, and that is indeed what they did.
So Yak Gotti and Duke started running.
Yes, a black glove, or what appeared to be a black glove, went flying out the passenger window. It was merging onto the freeway.
What's the point in throwing gloves out the window?
And what, if anything, occurred at that time when you stopped pursuing my car?
When we stopped pursuing the Monte Carlo, it had come to, it basically wrecked out. It had wrecked into a guardrail when you exit I-20 eastbound, ran through the stop sign, and came to a stop at the guardrail. At that point, the occupants jumped out of the vehicle and began to flee on foot. The driver fled northbound and the passenger fled southbound. The driver was Mr. Diamante Kendricks.
And what was the identity of the passenger?
The passenger was Mr. Martinez Arnold.
And as these passengers, as Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Arnold are fleeing on foot, did you ever give any verbal commands to them?
Yes, I was chasing behind Mr. Arnold, and I did give him verbal commands to stop.
And I should say, did they stop at your command?
No, they did not stop at my command. Chased him to about a fence. He hopped the fence. At that time, when he jumped over the fence, he stumbled and fell. Me with all my gear on, it takes us a little longer to get over a fence. Used my city-issued taser to try and stop him. The first time I fired it, it's ineffective. It didn't make good connection. The second time I fired it, it did make good connection, basically making him immobilized and giving me time to get over the fence to apprehend him.
He tased Duke?
No, after apprehending Mr. Arnold, I would have walked back to the car. When I searched him, I found in his front pocket would have been approximately 6.6 grams of suspected marijuana, and his right front change pocket of his pants was a small round pill with the markings 230 on it, which was suspected oxycodone. When I returned to the car, my partner was not there. He was still chasing.
Did he ever apprehend the driver, Mr. Kendrick?
Yes, he did.
And do you know if force was used to apprehend him?
I believe he did use his taser to apprehend him. There were 2 firearms in plain view in the vehicle, and we ended up calling crime scene photo technician out to take photos of the vehicle. There was a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol, and there was a 7.62 AK style rifle in the front seat also.
So there's a car they were driving. They hopped out and started running.
In this exhibit here, I draw your attention to the floorboard under the steering wheel. You can see a silver object with black. That is going to be the 40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol. And there's also a what appears to be a Fanta bottle with a yellow label and a purple drink inside of it.
Them boys got lean in the car, guns, an oxy pill in his pocket. Enemy territory, hunting them down, baby. I'm just kidding. Pretty sure they got gang charges for this. And Yak Gotti pled guilty to this.
What do you see?
There's a cell phone with what appears to be an identification card.
These boys, I gotta blur this, but they got a straight up AK-47 in the car right here. With a damn banana clip. They got a damn AK with a 4 grip on it, like in Call of Duty when you put a fucking grip on that bitch. Yak Gotti got his ID in his phone case.
The name is Diamante Kendricks.
You testified that you are the person that apprehended Mr. Arnold, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you tased Mr. Arnold in order to apprehend him, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you knee Mr. Arnold in the back?
What? Doug Weinstein about to point out some excessive force from the police officers here?
I don't recall that.
Did you spit on him?
No.
Would that have been appropriate to do?
Objection, not relevant.
Wait, what? Is there body cam footage of this, or is this just from what Yak Gotti said?
Sustained.
Would it have been appropriate if your partner kneed and spit on Mr. Kendrick after tasing him?
I'm objecting the same rationale.
Sustained.
Are you aware of Mr. Kendrick being sentenced for his possession of a firearm and serving time with regard to this incident?
No, I'm not.
Hey, Max sure looked like he in shape. I wonder if he gets some farm fresh produce and easy recipes delivered to his front door from HelloFresh. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make cooking fun, affordable, and easy. HelloFresh delivers all the pre-portioned ingredients you need to make amazing meals. I mean, you're gonna get all the protein, the veggies, the sauces, the spices, the instructions. I got everything. I was mind blown. I was like, this is so simple. There's also tons of options for whatever you're craving that week. You get 50 different options per week. They also got 100 add-on items for dessert, breakfast, and snacks. They got preferences like fit and wholesome and vegetarian. You'll always find something to love at HelloFresh, boys. My mom has always told me I need to cook from home, and this has made it way more enjoyable. It'll make it enjoyable for you too. And not to mention all the time I save not having to go to the grocery store. I mean, if you think about it, that's probably like 5 hours a month or something. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/freecuff. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/freecuff. Go copy America's #1 meal kit, boys. Love you guys. Here's the rest of the video.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right. Are there other defense attorneys with questions for this witness?
All right, this is Investigator Griffin. Gonna be talking about the 2015 incident with Shannon being the victim, and then apparently gave statements to the police about people who did it when it's kind of impossible when it's in the middle of the night and being shot from behind. He probably just saw headlights and then the car flipped.
The lead detective on the murder of Tiara Jones.
Yes, I was. At that location, there was only one victim. That was actually a deceased young lady by the name of Tiara Jones. And it was brought to my attention that there were 2 more victims and they were taken to Grady Hospital.
24 Triple Delta Papa.
The fuck is he saying?
This is an overturned vehicle operated by the decedent, Miss Tiara Jones. I forget the year, but it was a green in color. I think it was a Mountaineer, Mercury Mountaineer.
Now, when you first responded, know any of the facts and circumstances behind what happened?
No, so as it was initially described to me, they thought it was just an accident.
What? They didn't even know it was a shooting at first? They thought a car just rolled.
And then some officers took note of some defects in the rear liftgate, which they thought it might have been from a projectile. And as a result, they started looking for shell casings, which they found. And because they found that, that's when they called me and asked that I respond.
It's kind of crazy that they're able to show this whole situation. When Shannon was the victim, this isn't even like YSL members committed this crime. One of them was a victim. But I know they're doing that because they want to show there was a beef and they were getting shot at and targeted. But
50 yards, which is where the accident is, so in between that distance.
Where was that .45 caliber Springfield in relation to the vehicle?
As he noted in his report, it was feet away from the vehicle.
Who did you encounter?
I spoke to the front passenger, Shakoya Duncan, and the rear passenger, Shannon Jackson.
What kind of condition were they in when you met them that day?
Shakoya Duncan, she had a severely injured leg. I think at one point they were talking about it may have had to get amputated, but I'm not sure if that actually happened. So she was in the process of going to have surgery. And Shannon Jackson had, if I'm not mistaken, a lung and a rib injury.
Were you able to speak with them about what happened?
I spoke with both of them briefly. Again, given their condition, I didn't want to have a detailed interview, so I spoke with them briefly.
Now, after speaking with them, what did you do next?
The next thing I did was, of course, try to do some research on the individuals that were inside the vehicle. We call it just a generic search to see if I can find anything about what happened and possibly who done it. And what I was able to find out is that the young man in the backseat, Shannon Jackson.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
or didn't like something.
That is the, it's like a Chevron, JJ's Chicken, and I think there's another restaurant right there.
Now, were you ever able to, or did you try to get any surveillance from that location?
I did. Part of those investigative steps, myself and another detective went to try to find cameras in all those businesses, and we were able to find some cameras in a few of those businesses over there. A specific vehicle was of interest to me. I found out that the vehicle was actually owned by Enterprise, and it was rented to a young lady by the name of...
Did you ever come to learn where she lived?
Yes, I did.
Where did she reside?
An address off of...
Your Honor, I'm not asking what anyone told him.
So he's trying to get it out in front of the jury right now that it was a rival gang member that shot at Shannon and flipped this car.
And was that street, and specifically Trestle Tree Apartments, of note to you when you were looking into, after getting that surveillance video, that red Camaro, what was significant about that car in relation to the vehicle that Tiara Jones was in terms of the people in that vehicle or what they did in relation to?
The people stuck out to me from looking at the surveillance videos, their interaction with Tiara Jones and Ms. Shakoya Duncan. Well, I got a direction of travel that Tiara Jones went. So what I did was drive that route that was explained to me. And any place that I found cameras, I reached out to the place of business to see if we can try to get surveillance footage.
So these are, I would imagine, the people that shot at Shannon in that car and flipped it.
People of interest in this investigation that are depicted in 26 Triple Delta Papa.
This gentleman right here, Jamal Ward. This young man right here, I forget how to pronounce his first name, but his first initial is D. His last name was Lewis. This gentleman right here is Bobby Hardy, aka Smoke, and his nickname I think was Murrow.
And without saying what anyone said, in your investigation, did you ever speak with who you identify with the nickname Smoke?
Yes, I did speak with Smoke.
And in your investigation, did you ever come to have any information from the surveillance that he was present at that gas station before the vehicle with Shannon Stillwell, Tiara Jones, and Miss Duncan left?
That's correct.
So they had Smoke on camera at the gas station.
I'm going to give you all a limiting instruction at this point. Sometimes evidence is admitted against some parties and not others, or for some counts and not others. When this happens, that evidence can be considered by you, the jury, only as to the party against whom it is offered, and only for the count for which it is offered, and not against any other defendant or for any other count or purpose. In the next part of this witness's testimony, you're going to hear about statements made by defendant Shannon Stillwell, also known as Shannon Jackson. You are to consider those statements only against Mr. Stillwell and only as to count one. You may not consider those statements as to any other count, and you may not consider those statements in any way in determining the guilt or innocence of any other defendant in this case besides Mr. Stillwell.
Because the judge found that Shannon's statements don't further the conspiracy, she's going to give that instruction to the jury that it can only be used against Shannon for count one and not anyone else, not Thug, not Yak, not anyone else in the courtroom.
Investigator Griffin, did you ever have a third conversation with Shannon Stillwell?
I did.
And in all your interviews you had with him, in this case, was he a victim, a witness, a suspect? What was he?
No, Shannon Jackson is, a matter of fact, a victim in this case.
And when you spoke with him,
in November, I was at Atlanta Police Headquarters.
More information in that interview than you were prior?
I was.
Did Shannon Stillwell give you any clarity about what happened before they got to?
He did, but pretty organic, meaning he was just going to go pick up his child, and en route to go do so, they wanted to get something to eat.
Both Miss Duncan and Miss Jones in the vehicle with him?
That's correct. Mrs. Tiara Jones was his driver, and Shakoya Duncan was the front passenger. When they got to that location, he, meaning Mr. Jackson, went inside to get his food. He waited inside for his food to get done, and while he was inside waiting for his food, that's when he took note of the red Camaro and the individuals that were inside of that red Camaro.
Now, did you ever ask him, or did he ever say in that interview that he recognized anybody at the gas station location?
At the gas station, he specifically said he recognized Bobby Hardy, which is Smoke, and Jamal Ward, which is Merrill.
Were those two individuals in that Instagram photograph we had displayed a few moments ago?
Yes, they were. Again, he noted that they were there, number one, and he noted that Mr. Bobby Hardy actually approached the vehicle and spoke with either Tiara Jones or Shakoya Duncan. Again, he kept making reference to they, that's where they hang out at.
Wait, one of them spoke to her, then killed her?
So I got the impression from the interview he was just aware of them being present.
Shannon Stillwell indicated to you that friendly, not friendly, was there any significance to seeing those specific people that day?
Yeah, he was not friendly. Again, I don't want to give the impression that he was like on edge, but he, as he expressed to me, he was just aware of them, and they're not friends, they're not associates. And again, he took note of them, and he brought to my attention another incident that took place. So he got his food and walked back to the vehicle. He said that they drove off. I think the Camaro had left first and went to the left. And when they got into their vehicle, the driver was instructed to turn right, which would be north on Pryor, and they were going back to where he lived.
Who in this photograph specifically was someone that you were looking at in this investigation?
Again, this is the owner of the account. It's Mr. Lewis, and that's Mr. Kelvin Watts, aka KELL.
And what does that gentleman on the far right shirt say?
It's an A and a B and a G.
Did he ever identify for you other people that he believed were either in that red Camaro or close by at the gas station?
Yes, he did.
Who were the people he identified?
He identified Bobby Hardy, Jamal Ward, and Kelvin Watts.
So Kelvin Watts, he identified Kelvin, but Kelvin never got indicted for this or charged. Or was he just identifying a picture they put in front of him and saying, yeah, it's Kelvin? We need to see the video, but I don't think we will be able to.
Did y'all do any type of photo lineup?
Yes, a photo lineup was shown.
What did he describe about what he remembered while they were driving after leaving the gas station, but before any shooting took place?
What he described was seeing the red Camaro coming down at a fast rate of speed. It was probably coming south on Pryor. And then he said when he turned the corner, he heard a large revving of an engine. And he said he just took note of the headlights, that it looked like the Camaro that he had saw at the gas station.
And did he say he heard a couple, a few, or a lot of shots?
I believe he gave a count of upwards of 20, is what he told me. Well, I did obtain warrants for the 3 individuals that the victim identified, but the investigation continues. So, again, we tried to wait for cell phone records so they could be analyzed. And again, just making myself available to anybody that wanted to speak with me as it relates to this investigation.
That were not indicted?
That is correct.
Who was that individual?
Kelvin Watts. Well, I saw a snapshot of my police report with the picture of the victim in that case, Shannon Jackson.
So someone in YFN posting Shannon Jackson and the rear seat passenger of getting shot at. It looks like maybe it says somewhere that he gave statements and shit.
It'll be YFN BC _ Nutlife, NUTLIFE.
And on the left-hand side, who was that a picture of?
That's a picture of the victim, Shannon Jackson.
And is that is this something from what you just referenced, your report of 29 Triple Delta Papa on the left?
Yes, that's an image from my police report.
This of concern to you when you saw this?
It was for me, yes.
Why?
One, my police report is now being published on social media. And two, again, Mr. Shannon Jackson in this particular case was a victim. That's concerning because they're insinuating something that I didn't appreciate.
All right, the state's done. Schardt's up for cross. This is going to be interesting. Probably the most interesting part of the day.
You spoke to my client 3 times in regards to this incident, correct?
That's correct. I did.
All right. And viewed him as a victim.
Yes, absolutely is.
And you still view him as a victim?
I still do.
Okay. And on direct, you said you try to be relatable.
I'm going to be honest. So far, I kind of like this detective. Some witnesses, you can just tell they're being neutral and not being too biased, like investigators that are just like being dicks.
Mr. Stillwell, with respect, did you not?
I believe so.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Mr. Stillwell treated you with respect, correct?
Yes, he did.
You tried to be kind to Mr. Stillwell.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stillwell and Miss Duncan had, at that time, a 10-month-old daughter together, correct?
That is correct.
And as you understand from your investigation, the plan was for Miss Duncan to come pick up Shannon, and Shannon was to go watch the baby at his grandmother's house, correct?
That is correct.
Miss Jones to drive her to pick up Shannon on Lakewood Avenue.
That is correct.
Okay. And Miss Duncan and Miss Jones are friends or knew each other prior to this incident?
That's also correct.
Okay, and your understanding is Mr. Stillwell did not know Miss Jones prior to this incident?
As he explained it to me, he did not know Mrs. Tiara Jones.
Okay.
Oh my God. It just gets worse and worse for Tiara, man. That's terrible.
And at JJ's Chicken and Fish, you learned from Shannon that he saw Bobby Hardy, I think he referred to him as Smoke.
That's correct.
And he saw them going in and out of a red Camaro.
I think it was in and out of the Chevron and back and forth to the car and inside the Chevron.
And he took note of their presence, but he had no interactions with them at all.
That is correct. He did not have any interaction with them.
We're able to obtain the surveillance video from the parking lot of the JJ's Chicken and Fish.
That's correct.
And the surveillance video corroborated that information.
That's correct.
Okay. The car driven by Miss Jones, the SUV, the green SUV, takes a right out of the JJ's parking lot and head north on Pryor.
That's correct.
Almost immediately after speeding up behind, gunshots ring out.
That's also correct.
Okay, and there's about 20 shots fired at the green SUV that Miss Jones, Miss Duncan, and Mr. Stillwell are in from this car that's speeding up behind them.
That is also correct.
Green SUV is hit in the rear. What did you say, the rear liftgate?
At the rear liftgate, that's correct.
Okay, and also the back windshield was shattered, correct?
That is correct.
And according to Mr. Stillwell, upon being hit, the car starts to roll and flip multiple times.
That's correct.
And of course, sadly, you know through your investigation that the driver of the SUV, Miss Jones, was hit in the face with one of the bullets fired from the car that was speeding up behind him.
That's also correct.
Okay.
So I'm noticing a lot of mass today on the side of defense. Hopefully no one's sick, bro. That's the last thing we need is someone getting sick.
When the car finally stopped flipping over multiple times, he couldn't breathe, and Ms. Duncan had her injuries, and sadly, Ms. Jones was deceased.
That's correct.
Okay. The defects that you observed, you took note of the defects in the car.
I did.
And they were all in the rear.
The ones that I took note of, they were all in the rear.
Okay. And that is consistent with the information that Mr. Stillwell gave you.
Yes, it was.
Okay. There is absolutely no evidence at all that any shots were fired from that green SUV, is there?
No evidence at all.
And when you went to go see him, he had back injuries. The hospital had to actually insert a tube into his back, correct?
Well, I didn't know the last part, but I think you're telling me that. I knew about the first 2 injuries.
It is true that in this interview, Shannon repeatedly expressed remorse for what happened to Tiara.
Yes, he did.
He never suggested that what happened was okay in any way, shape, or form.
No, he didn't, which is, again, I think that contributes to the reason why he was willing to speak with me.
And in fact, he requested to write a letter of remorse to Tiara Jones' family.
That is also correct.
And he did so.
He did.
He brought it up to you that someone had shot at him at the green store.
Yes, he did.
And a bullet grazed his forehead. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then he in fact told you that people came up to him in the club and said, "You're lucky the gun jammed. Next time it's your ass." Correct?
That's correct.
God damn.
That at the time of this shooting of Tiara Jones, Woody was in custody. He was in federal custody, correct? Well, you might not know where he was, but he was in custody.
That's correct. I did find out later where he was. That is correct.
Okay. And you spoke with Mr. Stillwell about the ongoing beef between Kenneth Copeland, Woody, and KELL.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Stillwell referred to that beef as generational beef between those two individuals, correct?
He did. He did.
He described the situation as they shoot at Woody and his people, Woody shoots back, correct?
That's correct.
So is he trying to say it wasn't a YSL situation? It was a Woody versus KELL situation?
I was concerned because he felt that people perceived him as Woody's friend.
Yes, that is correct.
And that people were now shooting at him because Woody was in custody and they could not get Woody, correct?
I think I can infer that. I'm not sure if he specifically said that, but I was of the same impression.
So here's Miss Love. She about to say something, I think. She hasn't been as involved. Wouldn't be surprised if they said, you know, you need to take a back seat. You're doing terrible.
We run the NIBIN system.
So he's going to talk about NIBIN hits on shell casings from guns.
Conglomerate of currently 370 computer systems throughout the country. What we do is we take test-fired cartridge cases from crime guns and also cartridge cases from crime scenes, and we put those in the system, and it's an HD 3D imaging system that scans those, and then it searches a database to see if it can find any matches or similarities.
That's fucking insane. That's such a good system for solving crimes. That's crazy. Imagine telling detectives and police officers they could have this 30 years ago, 40 years ago. They'd be like, no way. That would have helped me a lot.
It's looking at those parameters that I described earlier, the caliber, the diameters, the light and dark from the striations. That's what it looks at, and it assigns it a value, and then it searches for something similar to that value.
That's just insane. That system must be so complex.
Values exist that allow you to say this is worthy of looking at it or not.
What we'll do is we'll see if there's any similarities between the two, and when I say similarities, that means there's enough of them to warrant further microscopic examination by a firearms examiner under a comparison microscope.
What is enough of them? What is it that you're looking for?
Well, when the striations match up, you know, it's like putting a puzzle together. You can just see how the striations line up, and they're very similar. Mm-hmm. So once we see that, then we'll do the report and notify the investigators that there's a potential lead between these two.
Does NIBIN produce multiple matches to a single piece of evidence?
It can. You know, if there's multiple crimes, it can link the cartridge case that's put in to other crimes that have already been entered.
Would you please tell the jury the incident numbers that particular piece of evidence produced leads for?
Yes, the first one was 142731889.
The ones in 2015.
The firearm that we're talking about, the first one was from 2014.
Okay.
142731889. The second one was 150272672.
Case number, incident number 152740150.
Yes.
Did you receive evidence from that incident number?
Yes, we received a Smith & Wesson 40 pistol, serial number V.
So I'm sure the jury's going to have a lot more information than we do, but basically he's just saying we got hits from all these cases. But from our perspective, we can't really keep track of case numbers. You know what I mean? Like the jury might have something to keep track of it, but we won't.
I don't recall him being qualified previously.
He was. We had a dog here.
Oh, on this witness?
Yes.
Okay, well then he is qualified.
Well, if they can present that, I'd be happy to withdraw my objection, but I don't
All
have
right,
any
you know what? Why don't we break for lunch? It's lunchtime anyway. We need
Some tension over this witness being qualified as an expert. Jesus.
we go back on the record. You'll withdraw that objection? All right. Okay. Whose phone offered the unsolicited math facts? Okay. So I assume you must have your setting on where you don't have to say, "Hey Siri," or push it. It just listens at all times.
Yeah.
Oh, he said serious, and it thought it was.
Oh, pick up the. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, hopefully that won't happen again.
He said serious and it activated Siri. I missed that.
He can identify it, but all he's doing is saying, I look at a report number and here's what I do, without saying, yeah, this is the projectile or not projectile.
Shell casing.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. That's my objection.
The jury has seen photographs of each of the crime scenes that we're talking about, so I don't know if the objection is that we want to see the physical piece of evidence, but the jury has the information to know which crime scene. That's why we put that information in.
It's really not the objection. It's not a photograph. It's the item. He, meaning this witness, said, you get the item, you run it through this NIBIN, and then you have to visually support it with his expertise. A photograph, you can't do that. My objection is, and it's best evidence rule.
You're
because
looking
of
for
chain of
the
custody.
actual shell casing.
Exactly. If it's not in evidence, I don't know. There seems to be a break.
Well, whether it's in evidence or not, is there a chain of custody objection or?
Custody, and he has no idea. He's reading a report. There's no evidence before him that he looked at to say, yes, I checked this out. I verified this. He's just saying it came back for NIBIN, and then I looked at another report, and it had a hit in another case.
Okay, with regard to chain of custody,
So, Your Honor,
I would imagine if he hasn't, he can, if the questions are posed, establish that whichever one he is testing that's, crime incident report XYZ, how he got that and that came from. So given that objection, you need to establish that.
And we did also with the crime scene technicians, if the court will remember, that was another reason we put them up, because they each testified as to what they collected.
Right, so as long as he says, and I got it from whatever,
okay,
then I think that would satisfy chain of custody. But you seem to be making a second objection as well, that unless the actual shell casing is admitted into evidence, nothing he testifies to can be testified to.
I'm not so sure we're talking about the same item. He's saying a report.
Okay, well, I'm going to overrule that.
Can I have a continuing objection and make sure that, and I heard what you ordered, so I'm sure it'll be done, but that this witness actually said, yes, I received the evidence from this scene on this date, and I looked at it. Yes, that would be my objection. Otherwise, he's just reading reports, and that's what I'm
Well, I think chain of custody needs to be established as to each of them, given that objection. Okay.
And also 15078 3205.
And what were those lead numbers?
355 and 356.
Would you put them on there?
So from there, this case, 15118-0588, also had 7.62 by 39 cartridge cases. Those 7.62 by 39 cartridge cases link back to 15118-0462. So that is going to be...
Is that lead 405?
405. 15118.
Is there a better way to show this to the jury? There was NIBIN hits. This seems a little sloppy and confusing. What am I looking at?
0462 also had 223 cartridge cases. These were 7.62 by 39.
Look at this. Look at this cluster of numbers, terrible handwriting.
15118-0462 and 15118-0588.
Dude, if the jury doesn't have something in hand right now for them to follow this, they must be taking amazing notes to be able to follow this, because I'm lost.
Leads to those 223s that were not in this stack. Okay. So they were the ones that we had discussed.
This almost seems like a SNL skit of them basically. I'm surprised SNL hasn't made fun of this trial yet.
NIBIN hit comes in, who it was that possessed a particular firearm at any particular time.
I have no idea.
And is that your role to try and figure that out?
No.
All right, cross-examination on this NIBIN dude.
You are not a firearms examiner.
I am not.
Okay. So a person that actually looks at evidence and makes a determination, for example, of whether a particular cartridge was fired from a particular gun is a firearms examiner. That's not you.
Correct.
Okay. In your capacity, and you work for APD.
Yes.
Right? You work with their lab.
Yes.
All right. What you do, if I heard you correctly, is that you receive items of evidence tied to particular cases, right?
Yes.
Those items of evidence come into you from whoever the case agent is, the case detective or police officer, right?
Yes.
So, for example, a detective, I'm just using his name, Thorpe, might submit cartridge cases to the lab for them to be recorded, analyzed, for you to examine their characteristics. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. You were asked on direct examination, okay, who's the suspect? What's the suspect name or the victim name or something like that? You remember those questions?
Yes.
That's not something that you do. You don't make a determination as to who a potential suspect is or who a potential victim is in a particular case that comes to you, right?
No, we only record what comes in the packaging or a submission form. If it has that, we just record what's there.
Okay. All right. And you can't vouch for the accuracy of those recitations by the detective or the case agent or police officer?
Correct.
All right. You input those findings into the machine. Is
Yes.
that right? Is there a step in between that, or am I still on the right track?
No, once we determine which cartridge case, then we'll pick that cartridge case and it gets entered into the NIBIN machine.
Okay. Then the items are sent to a firearms examiner to make a final determination.
Correct.
That is why you said earlier a couple of times that the computer determines that they may be a potential match.
Yes.
Right? Because potential meaning it may end up being a match, it may not have enough characteristics that an expert would say these two things match.
Right.
And when I say these two things, meaning you may have a shell casing in one case that ends up matching with shell casing in a different case, right?
Correct.
Meaning that those two shell casings may have been fired perhaps from the same gun.
Correct.
All right. The results, the potential or preliminary results that you get do not tell you who possessed a particular shell casing or firearm, right?
Correct.
Don't tell you how or when that shell casing, that bullet, or that gun was used, right? It doesn't tell you, even if there is a potential match, one case to another, that that item, let's say a gun, was used by the same individual in one item versus the other.
Correct.
Okay.
We are not going to start your testimony this afternoon after all. And hopefully first thing in the morning, we'll see you at 9. Do you want to just let the jury know that we're finished for the day?
What the fuck is happening?
I don't know if you want. I mean, I know that I have the information about why. I don't know if it's okay to share with everybody the information about why. I'm kind of looking at you. Okay, all right. We are finished for the day with trial testimony, and I am going to go ahead and excuse Mr. Nichols, who is going to waive his presence for this next thing that we have are going to be discussing. But the next thing I want to discuss is something we're going to have to sort out anyway, which is, I don't know if y'all got copies.
Excuse Mr. Nichols. So I think Nichols is sick is what's happening.
Yeah, the letter from Miss Merchant, from Natalie Merchant. Natalie Merchant. Oh, God. Ashley Merchant, and the defendants don't even know who that is because that was so long ago. But anyway, so she has some issues she needs to have, I guess, the state sort out, and we might as well just all sort it out here together. One of them is she's really not going to be available past, the 15th of November, and had apparently been told, and I guess the state had Mr. Arnold on the witness list for today, but she got told, I guess, by one of the investigators from the DA's office that it actually wasn't going to be today. It was going to be not for several weeks. She just kind of, I think, is saying, could you actually give me a somewhat solid date on when he's going to be called? Are y'all able to do that?
Talking about Duke. When is Duke going to be called as a witness?
Be like, by the day, but,
Your Honor, so prior to getting this letter, we thought that it would be maybe that week of Thanksgiving. However, given the letter, I think
it cannot be the week of Thanksgiving. She is not available, which means he is not available after the 15th of November.
So that's why we need to look.
Did y'all already know that?
No, I don't think we knew about what she put in this letter. Like, we had some dates, I believe, up until October. Like these last few weeks, nothing passed. Nothing in November. And I haven't been the one primarily speaking with her, but my understanding is we knew dates up until the end of October, nothing until November until this letter.
Well,
so
we
now
all know that if y'all don't have him testify before November 15th, it's not really going to happen.
Oh, so now that we know that if you can give us a tomorrow, I think we can decide when.
All right, and then with regard to, I don't know if y'all read it yet, but she's wanting to be fairly clear that if the state intends to ask him anything other than the wording on his guilty plea, there's going to need to be a immunity order.
Yes, Your Honor, she made us aware.
Don't want to talk about this when the jury room door is open. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she did make us aware of that, and so that is a part of our consideration if we decide to ask anything.
Let's get that all wrapped up well in advance, because it sounds like she's going to probably want to come in here, maybe with Mr. Arnold, maybe without. I don't know, but Dude,
Ashley Merchant is no joke. She's basically saying we need to know when he's coming in. I'm not available after the 15th of November. Are you going to give him immunity or not? Pretty much is what she wants to figure out. All right, that's pretty much it for day 145. And to my channel, subscribe. Appreciate the support. Love you guys. Peace out.